My name is Rodolfo Rojas. I'm a professional athlete and Ford Bronco ambassador. I trained with you guys back in February of 2022, and since then I've had an incredible journey, but I actually had about a year and 3-month gap ever since I had an emergency landing in Miami. Luckily, I was close enough to the beach to make it back to land, but at that moment I was pretty shook. I had some maintenance to do on my motor, and coming back here, smooth sailing. You guys really helped me out, make me feel confident with the maintenance you guys all did, and guided me back into the sky. It was pretty awesome. My training was in February 2022, and 4 years prior to that, I knew it for sure. I mean, it was probably 2018, 2019 that I was just obsessively watching YouTube videos, and it was to the point where I knew I wanted to do it. I had even booked to go do the course before. This you actually don't even know. I booked to do the course here before ever trying doing a tandem, before watching a movie, before watching getting in person, seeing it myself. I just knew from seeing that this is something I wanted to be involved in. I had prior to that I had experience with highlining, so I felt comfortable in heights. I kind of grew up in a building high up. So there wasn't a fear in that back of my mind about being up there. It was more so I'd rather personally, especially any sport actually I get into, I'd rather learn from the best. I want to learn from people with experience, people who can safely and comfortably explain each aspect to what I might expect or what might come of any circumstance, you know? So after plenty of research, I was lucky enough to find Aviator, a place that's near me. I'm based out of Miami, Florida, and I was born and raised there, so it's just a little car ride up. Didn't have a car at the time, actually. I had to borrow my girlfriend's. But she let me use it, and I came up here for about 2 weeks, and it was incredible. What truly moved me to start flying was the beauty of it. I wanted to see the world from a different perspective. I was fascinated by the idea of just being able to navigate your way through areas you never would, right? I would never be able to hike the same areas that I can see and get to. It would take days, months, years, a lifetime to make it across these terrains that are just unlikely to otherwise, unless you had a freaking paramotor over your head, So that was a big, I would say, motive when it came to learning how to fly paramotor. It was, I want to go see the world, and I want to see it in a way I haven't before, and it's not about going high, it's not about going fast, it's just about that experience. The adventure, yeah, and that it's that solving that curiosity, that sense, that kind of craving I had. I had a craving, and I decided to follow through with that little gut feeling, and I'm so grateful I did. And even ever since the beginning, and who knows, right? I'm speaking now, it's 2024, we'll see, maybe down the line I might be an acro junkie, but I think right now and since then and moving forward, I felt so happy with paramotoring being my tranquility. It's been honestly and I realized that I was talking to Dave yesterday, and I actually, when I had my incident back in 2023, I was a little shook at first, of course, right? Anyone who kind of takes an emergency landing, somewhat crashes, to be honest. I flew into a dune. I was covered in 100 sand spurs. And I was alone, which really kind of scared me. I realized at that point there are some risks that need to be taken. That there are some risks and there's some precautions that need to be taken. So now looking forward and stepping away from it, I almost thought I didn't like paramotoring anymore, And not because I was scared, but more so because what I just mentioned, the tranquil part, believe it or not. I'm the type of person, I've been very active my whole life. Grateful to say the moment I found a skateboard at around 12, 13, I was hooked. And before that, of course, I played recreational group sports, but from 13 on, I was on my board, and that, I believe, truthfully, skateboarding was my gateway, my path to creativity, to exploration, to adventure, to see the world in a different way. That was that first gateway. Then, of course, it led to slacklining, which I'm grateful to say I'm a professional nowadays. And now I'm outside in nature, and then I feel like I'm gaining aspects of life in different ways. I've considered life in different chapters, and paramotor is the air chapter, right? We have different elements, and I've now coming back into it, I'm grateful for it because I've realized a lot of the activities that I personally do and love to do are very kind of adrenaline, high-paced, and demanding. And I was so convinced after taking my emergency landing that it wasn't just the fear, because yeah, there might have been a little bit, but like you saw today, I felt comfortable to like, dude, we got this, you know, like it was more so just like I didn't feel physically demanded. And I know that's a really strange thing. You might not have heard that before, but I like to sweat. I like to fall. I like to go through it. You don't want to fall when you fly paramotor, dude. Like, you don't want to crash, you know? That's really not it. I'm used to taking 1,000 falls on my skateboard, 1,000 falls on my slackline, seriously. Like, and for some weird reason, I've loved it because that's that's a perseverance. It's that fail and prevail. It's a moment of just realization that if I keep trying and I focus, I'm in tune with my breath, I can achieve whatever I want. I realized this is the complete opposite. And for some reason, at one point, I thought it must not be for me anymore, you know? Yeah, like I almost thought paramotoring wasn't for me only because I didn't feel that same feeling of like, oh, this is difficult. It is difficult, I'll let you know that, because it's ever changing. That's the part that a lot of people need to acknowledge and we need to understand. In the bigger picture, you're not a paramotor pilot, you're a meteorologist. You're going through all these different circumstances, these weather patterns, and possibilities of just different things that could happen to you when you're up there. And I think at that point it becomes a little bit more dicey. Of course, when you start getting into the acro world as well, that's a physical, mental challenge as well. But I knew coming into it for certain that's not why I came here. And now coming back into the sport, for certain, I feel like I finally have something that I could slow down with. And that might seem to someone who doesn't fly paramotor, that might seem so strange, right? Like I just told you, I'm craving adrenaline to an extent, right? I love, as a professional highliner, I am literally strung up between two mountain peaks or canyons, hundreds, maybe thousands of feet off the air off a 1-inch little webbing. And that's my comfort zone. Strangely enough, it's quite a bit of adrenaline at first, but then it's a meditation. It's the same thing with paramotor. You might have a little bit of a rush, a feeling of like, you know, and it's safe. It's a good thing to have. A little bit of reservations, you know, like you're like, you know, you want to be safe. You check your gear, you do this and that, but it's not an adrenaline rush. It's actually, you want to be the most calm you could ever be. You want to take a deep breath of air, relax when you're up there. Of course, you're focused, right? But paramotoring for me has now become something to help balance out my life, actually, because I'm always so high-strung, so high-paced. With paramotoring, I can say, this is my time to unwind. This is my time to enjoy personal time. And what's great, what I saw and what I got to experience, that I had that for some time in Miami. I was flying alone, and which was really cool and empowering to an extent. But then that happened, that mishap of like a crash. And so then I started to take in that feeling of almost feeling like a fear of being alone, which is a weird thing, like not just in paramotoring, just in life, with all things, because you never know, something could happen. And today, man, it was unbelievable to be with my friends, like catching up with you, Reese, catching up with Jillian, the whole squad out here at Aviator. Insane. I look over to my right, my left, up, down, like we're all just swerving around, and it's a just all in all, I'd say a euphoric feeling, more so than anything else. It's unreal. Like I told you, like coming back into the, you know, getting up into the air, it felt like it was yesterday, but coming back onto land, whew, like I could literally feel like chills. It's just awesome, man.
There's different flight profiles that kind of go into it. Like first and foremost, I 100% agree with you. Like on just something that you may have not mentioned too much was the flying with others. Like,
yeah.
I would rather fly with others than not fly with others. It's just my style, and that adds some dynamics. If like people are pushing the limits and doing like adrenaline things down low, I'll kind of participate with them.
Yeah. I mean, even today, right? Like I hadn't flown in a year and some change, and you guys are having some fun down low, and I was like, man, you know what? Like as long as I feel comfortable maintaining my altitude and it's not too bumpy in the sky, I know this is something I can do too, you know, and it was encouraging. It made me feel good, because otherwise I probably would have just sailed up, came right back down.
Yeah, because you did. You like came back down. You went on your first flight, and you're like, all right, if everyone's done, I'll be done. And then we were all stoked for you. So we're like, damn. Jillian was like, dude, I want to get in the air. And like,
Cool.
well, if you're getting in the air, I'm getting in the
Absolutely.
air. Like, I didn't even have my cameras. I left my camera bag in here, so I was bummed out that we didn't get any footage in the air. But
That's
I think
fine.
you were running your metas.
I'm gonna have to look at that. I was running my metas. We got some fun ones. I was looking at you guys. Like,
I hope
it's
it
a
was
fun
recording.
POV
How do you know
for
if
sure.
it is recording?
Actually, on the right side, there's a little bit of a blinking light.
Okay.
So there was one that I
describe
thought.
that item real quick.
Oh yeah. So I'm grateful to say I'm partnering with Ray-Ban Meta. They have this is their second generation of a pair of sunglasses that are basically friendly for a content creator or anyone living their life. Like, actually, I've seen some incredible uses for it in the day-to-day, but they have Ray-Ban and Meta collaborated and created this product in which, of course, you're rocking your pair of shades, but somehow, some way, they found a way to pack in all the technology that you could take a photo, you could film a video, you could even live stream, which I feel like for anyone who's in our industry, that's phenomenal, right? Another thing, one of my favorite features, to be honest, is that there's a built-in like speaker system on your glasses, so you can still hear everything around you. It's not like AirPods, you know. I've worn AirPods for some time. Those are like in the trash now, dude. Like, no joke. I'll use them maybe for a flight for noise canceling, but with my Ray-Bans, it's perfect because I live in Florida. I'm gonna wear a pair of sunglasses every day, and it's nice to be aware of your surroundings. So they're top notch. And plus, I could take calls, answer text messages.
So they're more than sunglasses and a camera.
They're more than that. They're actually, I'm realizing it, they might be bridging the gap towards a phone.
Can you say that Ray-Ban's bridging the gap? That's more than sunglasses and a camera.
Yeah, Ray-Ban is absolutely more than sunglasses and a camera. It's bridging the gap between sunglasses and a phone, because now I can listen to my music. I can take a call. I can send a message. Shoot, I think I could even FaceTime. For sure, live stream, that's for sure. And yeah, I mean,
That's a game changer.
I can't wait. Like, the third, fourth generation, like, they're talking like they just, released that new product, Orion, which, will have you heard of that? They officially have the glasses with holograms now, right. Which that's insane. I don't know what that's going to do for the whole world, but for right now, I'm super happy with Ray-Ban Meta where it's at and just a regular pair of shades.
Dude, imagine if it pinpointed air traffic. Like if you looked up and it tracked a GPS and it drew a little arrow.
Yeah, no, I don't doubt it at all because, I didn't mention as well, they have AI integrated into these sunglasses, which is very interesting. You can look at something and say, hey, what am I looking at? Or, hey, when was this made? Or, it'll give you somewhat of and I'm sure as time goes on, this will advance, right? You'll be able to ask simple things, just like you would talk to Siri, I'm assuming.
Dude, that would be crazy. You're setting up for launch. You're like, hey, what's the winds?
Yeah, totally. That would be a great video. I would love to do that.
Yeah.
What's the wind direction?
Yeah. If my wind's aloft, if you're going on the cross country.
Absolutely. And, I thought it was really cool. Actually, I saw, people who had disabilities, they weren't able to see, they were blind. And they use Ray-Ban Metas to at least know where they are, what they're looking at. So I just think it's genuinely onto something, and we're kind of right at the cusp of it. So it's exciting.
And moving on to a couple other brands that you were at. You got Ford, you got the Bronco. You're going on a bit of a life-changing trip. Would you like to just talk about selling your house in Miami?
For sure. So this is crazy. There's a lot to say about this whole topic. I'm 28 years old, and I have never owned a car. You don't know that actually. So I mentioned it a little bit earlier. I had to literally borrow my girlfriend's car just to make it here for training. And anytime I wanted to go fly, I had to borrow my girlfriend's car. And don't get me wrong, I was super grateful, but man, what a pain. If she wanted to go somewhere else or had to go to work, I wasn't able to do the things that I wanted to do. And living in Miami.
Yeah, sorry.
No, it's good.
Make sure it's recording. Yeah.
Cool. And living in Miami, you're fine. You could get around with transportation, but I didn't realize how many opportunities would open up for me when I did have a car. And I was grateful to say last year I was reached out to by the team that runs the marketing for Ford. I thought it was fake, I'm not gonna lie. Seriously, 2 to 3 days I did not answer the email because I was like, spam, whatever. Because who the heck offer someone a sponsorship, especially me, I felt like, you know, I've been grateful to say I've been working really hard. I've been producing content for 10 years, but it's not like I had a huge following. When they reached out to me, dude, I had 12,000 followers. So I think that's honestly pretty humble, right? That's a small little page compared to everything out there nowadays. And I think for me and for anyone else that hears that, I hope, know that there's possibilities out there for you at all levels of this. You know what I mean? It's not about where you are, it's about where you're going. Like, you have to believe that, you know, and since then I'm grateful to say it's been 6 months and now I'm at 50,000 followers. And it's not really about the followers, more so about the impact you can make, right? I believe it's an amazing opportunity for me to spread a message. What I do is I want to share with the world. I want people to have fun, to consistently learn, to do things that they are scared of, but do it in the right way, do it in the safe way, learn from the best, learn with people in that community, surround yourself with knowledge. That's truthfully, knowledge is power. It's the power to do what you want, to go where you want. And yeah, so I'm incredibly grateful. And this partnership started in April of 2024. It's October 1st. So yeah, that makes about, wow, it's only been 4 months? Wait, 6 months officially. That's insane. My life has changed so much. No, it really has. I've literally I've driven across the country multiple times already. I've had the car for 6 months and it already has nearly 15,000 miles on it. They have just truly impacted my life for the good, for the better. I mean, I can now do everything I've ever dreamed of. This is something, like I mentioned, paramotoring took 4 years for me to save up, and I was thinking about and watching. This car thing, dude, it's been my whole life. Like I told you, I've never had a car. This Ford Bronco is my first car ever. I hope it's my last car. No joke, because it's treated me so well. The team has been incredible, and it's just facilitated all the adventures that I'm looking forward to.
You love it so much you might live in it.
I mean, oh, great segue. Yeah, I'm gonna live in my Bronco. Yeah, it's gotten to the point where, you know, this past 6 months I've been traveling nonstop, and unfortunately because of that, I have just been eating up rent. It's been 6 months of me. I promise you, I haven't been home more than 2 months at a time. That's collectively over the 6 months, because I've been traveling nonstop with them for different work opportunities, for shoots, for events, and especially to focus on the things that I love. So now thinking about this, it just made the most sense. So this is my last month in Miami. I hope to always go back. Miami will always be my home because that's where my family is. But there is a big country to see, and I'm grateful to say, with the support of Ford and in my own Bronco, I will be traveling nonstop. This is going to be a full-time adventure. I have some exciting partnerships that I'll be announcing very soon that will help facilitate this whole process as well. But yeah, it's official. I'm going to be on the road as a full-time Ford Bronco ambassador, and I can't wait. I'm bringing all my cameras, all my toys. I feel bad for my girlfriend because, you know, I am stuffing that car to the rim. And if you look at this thing, we got paddle boards, surfboards, paramotor, skateboards, you name it, like wind sports, kiteboarding, wing foil. I'm going to do everything I possibly can around this country and more. I hope to learn more. If you tell me tomorrow, hey, let's go rock climbing, and yeah, I love to rock climbing, but I'm not into it in the way where I'm going to go set up my own routes and get, maybe that's right around the corner, and I'm open for that. That's what's exciting about this opportunity, and I think that's what's exciting about life, is that if you are open to new things, it'll happen. It'll come to you almost. You have to take a little bit of effort, right? Just like I had to save up for a few years so I can own a paramotor, or just how I reached out to you guys and other people along this journey to get there. But it's not that much effort. I swear to you, just a little bit of effort. And then you'd be so surprised on how, I believe, every community, it's not just the paramotor community, it's not just the skateboarding, slacklining, every single community I've come across, every walk of life has someone with that spirit, that energy, and that love for what they do, the passion. You see it in their eyes. And one of the coolest things about that is they always want to share it. Like, seriously, I've never met someone who was genuinely passionate about their sport who did not want to share it. And I guess that's a great takeaway, and I would love to do the same. Like, that's my goal, all it took was me seeing a video, and look, here I am today. We're flying. Yeah. Same thing with skateboarding, same thing with slacklining, same thing with who knows what's down the road.
And now you're hoping to potentially spread that to a wider base, traveling throughout the country, meeting other.
Absolutely. No, that's honestly, it's a great point, because I've done that with slacklining, and let me tell you, that has changed every trip I've ever taken in my life. So like, I had never, now this is, we'll speak on the national, but even on the international level, which is so freaking cool about the time that we live in, and the networking, anything that's truly possible really is. It's just a little bit of outreach. It's a phone call, a text, a Facebook post. You just get yourself in those forums, and you never know what can happen. You just have to put yourself out there. I think same thing could apply for paramotoring, for instance. I've been doing this with slacklining for many years, where you find out, just an outreach. Maybe you reach a forum, maybe on Facebook, maybe you contact a good friend that you know in the community. For instance, like what I would do is, I'm going to reach out to Aviator, all my friends at Aviator, and I'm going to say, hey, do you guys know someone in Tennessee? Or do you know someone in Utah? And I'm grateful to say that you guys and anyone I know will hopefully put me in the right direction. Because that's the track record, right? Like, with the people who are passionate and the people who love what they do, they just want to share it. So because of this, I've been able to, and I'll speak specifically about my sport, I've been able to slackline in the Himalayas. I've been able to slackline in the Swiss Alps. I've been able to travel the world doing what I love most, just because of the time we live in, just because you can network, you can reach out or ask a friend, and you never know. You know, we're always 6 degrees off from our next, friendship, our next opportunity, and it's really opened my eyes to now what I can hopefully do with paramotoring. I've started here in Florida, and since then, I was grateful to say I made my way all the way to Egypt, and it was, man, like, what? Seriously, to make your way from flatland Florida, the beaches, tropical, over the ocean, to the complete polar opposite on the other side of the world, in Africa, literally. Like, I was taken back and amazed and realized what a community can do for your life. It can really expand those opportunities, I'm still actually just talking about it. I still don't, I sometimes think about that as like it was a dream, because it's surreal.
Dude, it happened like right after training.
I know, but I literally trained, and it wasn't 6 months. It was within 6 months. I was across the world.
Boarding a flight with your paramotor?
With my paramotor. I literally stuffed it in a musical instrument box. I'd never done it before. I'd never even taken apart my paramotor. I actually bought a used paramotor from you guys, the same student one, because I called it Juju, by the way. I called it Juju because I felt like it had energy in it, good and bad. You know what I mean? Like, a couple other students definitely crashed in that thing, took a few butt landings, the cage is a little sideways. But for me, it was good Juju. I had nothing but great experiences in it, and I loved it. So yeah, my paramotor's named Juju. And I took it, stuffed it in a box. First time ever, disassembling it, putting it together, and it was one heck of an experience. And like, now looking forward into this next adventure I'm going on around the country, it's a definite year. We'll see how much longer I decide to go, or less or more, right? But what I do know is I'm gonna bring that paramotor, and I'm gonna have a good time. And especially because of my friends, the network, and everyone I'm so grateful to have known now. I think anywhere I can kind of just ask. It's a phone call, a text away, and you'd be very surprised that there's people who share that same love and passion for what you do all over the world.
So the highs and the lowest of lows, they exist. You talked about Juju, it's kind of funny. Great name. Let's talk about your experience with the lowest of lows and coming out of that slump, and if you could give some insight to people that have experienced like a check, a reality check.
So, and I'll speak about this in general, actually. So I don't want to only refer to my instance where I had an emergency landing, because that truthfully is a reality check. Like, it makes you realize that anything can turn sideways at any point. You need to be ready, head on a swivel. You need to be conscious of your surroundings and be aware that if something were to happen, ideally you have an escape route, you have something to fall back on, right? Plan B. We always talk about in life, you always want a plan B. It's the same thing with any sport, anything you uptake. You always have to consider, what if this went wrong? When I do my high lines, I have a main line and a backup, always. So it's just keeping things in mind. There's always going to be factors around it, and I think there's a lot of highs and plenty of lows, and the most important part is being able to get past the lows, because the highs only get better. You know what I mean? Like they say I don't even know this quote actually, but I'm going to try to quote a quote I don't even know. It's like, the night is darkest right before the sun rises. So basically, you almost have to go through the pit of it to get through. Just how, and I didn't really reference this or talk about this at all, but I believe this is a beautiful low to reference, speaking specifically about paramotor. Not about my crash, actually about learning how to fly paramotor. I don't know if you remember it. I know Dave can vividly tell you, I was a wuss, dude. I came here, I felt like on top of the moon, ready to go. I had all this experience in highlining. I thought I was like macho, I'm the man. I felt great, ready, this is it. But there was something about, it's like what I mentioned earlier, it's that lack of knowledge. I had lack of knowledge, therefore I felt powerless. I was scared. I really, truthfully was humbled, even just learning how to fly. And it was to the point where, man, I'm not gonna lie, it was day 3 or day 4, my first flight, comms out, bumpy air. I went on an elevator ride. I was straight up barely penetrating the wind and no comms. I didn't know. I look around, I try to turn around, and I nearly clip a plane that's going up. I was trembled. And luckily, I made it back to no comms, made it back, landed. It was my first flight ever. This is shameless. I went back to my car and head down in the slums. I mean, you could imagine the full works of just reevaluating my life. I genuinely felt scared for my life. And only to know later on that I was perfectly fine. I was always under my glider. You guys would have never put us in circumstances that were unsafe. But since I didn't have that guiding hand, that knowledge, I was taken back. I felt tarnished, man. I felt just ripped to shreds. I called my family, I spoke to them, I had a deep conversation with the instructors, and luckily you guys were reinforcing, but also not forcing. You know what I mean? It was a positive, I believe in you, but you don't have to do this, right? And I believe that's very special too, and important to acknowledge in your life and in our lifetime, that you don't have to do anything. You get to choose to do something, and that's a blessing. I really believe it is so amazing to be able to choose to do the things that we do on our day-to-day basis. I chose to persevere past this fear because I was 100% at that point of guys, I think I'm out. Peace out, we're done here. I did it, right? I got the curiosity out, I flew, done. It's not for me. But it took a battle. It was a real low. I felt, man, I felt like it wasn't in grasp. Although I'm watching it, I'm experiencing it, I'm seeing people with the smiles on their face. I didn't share that same feeling at first. I genuinely, to the core, I could feel it in my chest, compressed, truthfully just could barely breathe. That's defeated almost. Defeated, 100%. And I think the most important thing I could take from that moment and from moving forward with all other experiences like this of feeling defeated, man, it was just like when I fell on my skateboard, man. Get up, learn. Why did you fall? What can we do to fix this? And take your time, right? You don't have to go dive into something. Really understand what you're doing, and with the community, with friends, with all kinds of support, anything's possible, truthfully. So, yeah, there will be highs and there will be lows. That everything that goes up must come down, right? It's just the cycle of life. It's a roller coaster, truthfully. But the lows make you appreciate the highs, and the highs make you realize that the lows hopefully you got to remember at the top that they're there still, you know, and it could come around. Like, it's the same experience that I have as a professional highliner, man. Like, a few weeks ago, I was invited to go to Camp Woodward, a place that I hold near and dear to my heart. I was a kid dreaming about this same concept, right? You've heard of Woodward? It's insane. This is literally every action sports kid's dreamland. We have 15 skate parks in one location, hell of a ball. And, you know, growing up, I wasn't able to afford it. My family couldn't afford it. I applied for a scholarship, luckily was able to get admitted, and it was much more affordable. So I had that experience, and since then, I was so inspired. Years passed, I became an instructor there. It's awesome, awesome time. And since I left from that experience, is the craziest thing. I realized that when I became an adult, it was like, man, that's a camp. I can't go back there again. You know, like, it's for kids. Unless I go to work there, I'm not going back there. And I set a goal for myself, actually. I didn't really tell anyone, but I was like, my goal is that one day I'll be back here as a professional. In that time, I wanted to be a professional skateboarder. So I thought, right? And once I threw in the towel, I split ways with my sponsors with skateboarding. I thought that was out of the question. I thought I was no longer going to be able to attend this. But through what I've decided to pursue with slacklining and this and that, and the connections I've made over through the years, somehow this year I was invited to go over and showcase what I love most, which is now slacklining. And that opportunity was an incredible experience, not only to be there once again, but now to share what I love, to be there in a different circumstance, almost like invited. And the reason I bring up Woodward is, I completely forgot why. So we were talking about the highs and the lows. 1 second. Oh, yes. I go there to, mind you, I'm going there as a professional highliner and slackliner. I'm doing demos. I'm having the time of my life. And things are moving pretty fast with my career at the moment. I'm grateful to say I'm traveling from event to event and also training with some really great friends in this community as well to become the best I can. And I go to Woodward, have a good time, and day 3, guess what? Hop on the board and roll my ankle to pieces. Luckily, nothing was broken, but it's been 2 months and my ankle still screams at me a little bit. I'm working on it, we're rehabbing time at time, but that's another low, you know? And that's one that, man, it'll get me every time, honestly. An injury is a tough thing to kind of get past, because at that point it's patience and it's work and it makes you slow down, you know? But it makes you appreciate how special it is to be back at that high, right? So there's that duality of life, you know, that we need to be able to comprehend or understand that it's just a balance act.
So, top flight, if you could recall your favorite flight of all time with the Paramotor, what would it be?
It's still hard, bro. It's still hard because you got to think, like, there's 3.
So listen them off then.
Yes, let's go. 3 different circumstances where I was like, I think I'm on heaven. Like, I'm in heaven on earth right now. And it was on a paramotor. Like, not even on my slackline, not on my skate. It was on a paramotor where I just felt that true bliss, that true relaxation and love for where I was and what I was doing. Like, I genuinely recall considering all 5 senses. Like, what do I smell? What do I see? Like, I'm feeling like I want to remember this moment for the rest of my life. One of them was my first solo flight ever after training. I went completely alone. I was a little petrified. And it was in Miami in Homestead at the airport. And there was like it was a seemingly nice morning, you know, but it was very, I got you, yeah. I'm gonna cut it off. We'll restart.
You said Homestead, it's good enough.
Yeah. So, point being.
First flight out of your hometown.
Yeah, first flying, forget it. First flight in Miami by myself. The weather was funk. I got there super early in the morning because I knew from you guys, like, you want to be there, set out your wing, this first sunlight of the day, right? It's all dewy, kind of, you know, misty on the bottom, but it cleared out on the bottom, so I was good to go fly. I take off, and within the first 100 feet, I realized there's a huge, thick marine layer of clouds that I can go through, Luckily, there was a big patch I could see right out of the LZ, went straight through, and it was just like, that was the definition. Like, it's like what you talked about before. You told me, you know, like, we get to walk on clouds. That was that. I felt the dew in the air, like, and just going through and seeing just, it's like a blanket over the earth, you know? That was definitely up there. Like, because it was, mind you, it was kind of chilly down below. It was like a winter morning. And then I went up, and I had that sun on me and blue skies and just like a blanket of clouds beneath me, like cotton candy. It was insane. That one, for sure. It was like right there, top 3. Second one would be my first circumnavigation. So sounds wild. It's not too wild. We have a little island in Miami called Key Biscayne. That's our local LZ. We'd take off. Amazing spot. Pretty dicey, to be honest. You know, like, you do not want an engine out there. That's where I had my engine out, of course. And but unbelievable. You take off and you're immediately flying over a reef. Like, you're going around these islands and it's just covered with beautiful wildlife. I mean, you look left and there's manatees. You look to the right and there's sharks, turtles, dolphins, like all kinds of marine life. It is a complete sanctuary for wildlife. And so for me, my first time going all the way around the island and really getting to see the texture, the colors, and all the real focus, right, of everything I ever wanted with Paramotor was just to see the world from a different view.
Yeah, you lived in Miami. You grew up.
I've lived there my whole life, but I have never seen Miami the way I did that morning, ever, you know? And once I made my way around the island, that's actually the area where my family lives. They live in Brickell near on the buildings. I was able to, on that same flight, I made my way through back towards town, and I called my grandma and I said, you know, I'm telling her in Spanish, come out in the balcony. And she's like, what? Why? You know, it's 7:30 in the morning. She comes out, and I literally, it was awesome, dude. I got to buzz her balcony, like literally right by. And like, obviously still over the ocean, not like, you know, over anything or any populated places, but it was just like close enough where she saw me, I saw her, and I just felt, it was like sharing a moment in the sky with my family. And people who were genuinely terrified for what I'm doing, but I got to show them, and now through all the years of experience and practice, that this is something that you can do professionally. This is something you can do safely with practice, knowledge, and the proper guidance, you know? And last but not least, I lightly mentioned it before, Egypt, obviously. Like, to like genuinely just be in that, and it's a world wonder to be in that landscape, a whole other, completely opposite from Miami, right? The tropical ocean versus the desert. Stark difference, mind-blowing. I was flying over temples, I was flying over the pyramid, I got to fly over the Nile, the Red Sea. It's just like stuff that you just hear about in movies or think about in just fairy tales or books, you know, but it is absolutely unbelievable. And I was very grateful to have done that. And right out of training, I was like beyond hooked. And like I mentioned, my goal was to travel the world, to see the world in a different way, to experience something unparalleled, which was flying. And I saw this opportunity to make my way to Egypt, and come on, like how it was out there, like, hey, anyone like to come? Sky Sports Egypt, I just want to say, like, 100% facilitated that. It was like a worry, stress-free experience. You know, they put it out there as the listing. They kind of explained what was going to go on, the game plan of where we're going to go, this and that. But I didn't have to ask many questions. I just packed up my motor for the first time, flew my way all the way from Miami to Egypt, and the rest was carefree. These guys had everything planned out day to day, you know, where we're going, what we're seeing, what we're eating. And it was just 2 weeks of travel. It felt like on another planet, not even in like another part of the world, another planet.
Did you go with anyone that you knew?
Yeah, I went with my girlfriend.
She's a Paramotor pilot?
She's not. Oh. She went and had her first flight ever over the pyramids.
Tandem?
Tandem. Yeah, pretty sweet. That was a good tandem spot, I'd say. Like a great place to ever get exposed to the world. And
she's still your girlfriend?
She's still my girlfriend, of course. Yeah, grateful to say so.
Yeah, well, she didn't hate you for flying.
Yeah, no, yeah. And I was hoping one day she'd get into it, but the guy that took her on the way in, she loved it. On the way in, he started doing some wingovers, and she was like, she felt like she got off the roller coaster and was like, whoa, I don't know if this is for me.
Oh, because motion sickness does play a part in that.
Yeah.
I think when you're a pilot, you can overcome it because you're more into
Well,
it.
you're
not
in
a
it.
passenger.
And I think she wasn't like really like, she wasn't ready. She didn't know what to expect, right?
Right.
So moving forward, I'd love her to learn, and shoot, there's no other.
Come tandem with us.
I think that's it. Like, and it's the same thing. I brought my sister here to tandem. My brother's here today. I'm hoping next time we come back on the way through, we'll get him to do his first tandem as well, because I believe it's something that I would share paramotor with my family. I'd comfortably allow my friends here at Aviator to take my mom, my dad, even my grandma if she was up to it, but I doubt that.
Gotta
She's
get
scared of
grandma in
heights.
the sky.
Yeah,
Gotta get grandma.
gotta get grandma in the sky. Well, I love you. No, but yeah, it was a cool experience, and I'm grateful I got to share that with my girlfriend, and I'm getting to share it with my family. My sister came out, like, had her first tandem with you guys, absolutely loved it. She went with Bob. Tandem Bob.
Bob Farewell.
Yeah, Bob Farewell. It was just epic.
Recap briefly.
Yeah.
Our rolling in with the Bronco, hanging out with your homie Reese.
Yeah, man.
How's the past few days been for you?
Dude, it's literally insane. Like, I want to say I did not comprehend what happened yesterday almost. You know what I mean? It's like how I talked about Egypt and stuff like that, like it being like surreal, like a dream. Yesterday was that, It was a walk down memory lane, immediate nostalgia on Airport Road, pulling down and seeing the Red Barn. But like, dude, come on, you killed it with open arms. This guy, like, I hadn't flown in a year and 3 months. I hadn't been here since my training. And first things first, I felt super comfortable and grateful to be right back in this space, and just like, it's like I never left. But then we walked past the door and you're like, yeah, you're getting in a helicopter. And this experience went from like, it was already like, you know what I mean? Like, we were already here at the top, dude, and like it just bursted through. I got my first helicopter ride. My brother got to rip the Bronco with Reese. Thank you for organizing that. That was huge. And yeah, it was insane. We were drifting literally a helicopter through the orange groves, and I mean, it was the last thing I expected. I don't think you even planned it. It was kind of just like a spur of the moment thing. And I think that just happens from stoke. That just happens from that like mutual energy, that being open to new things, like putting it out there in the world. Like, hey, we want to try this. Like just how we've talked about, hey, we want to shoot sometime together. This kind of all lined up for that moment. And then today, I mean, insane. We got to fix my motor this morning in perfect time, right in that weather window, and it was just like, riding a bike. It was like, I'm sorry, I'm at a loss for words. I'm kind of just still living off of that high of just, man, it's
Taking every opportunity, because realistically, we got shafted by the rain for a little bit.
Yeah.
So we showed up, we got you hang points figured out, and then we realized we were in a downtime, so we just kept putting one foot in front of the other.
Yeah, and I think that's an important thing to definitely like understand too. Sometimes there's moments where you can, and sometimes there's moments where you can't. And I think that's important to just definitely just acknowledge as well. Like, maybe we could have tried to fly this morning, but who knows, right? Like, it's all about, I think things in life are all about timing. And just like how I haven't been able to see you guys for such a long time, right now was the right time for me to get back into flying. Right now was the right time for me to just be here, right? Because somehow, magically, we have a helicopter that, same time that you see him there on the farewell. Somehow, Jillian's here and Dave's here and like all my friends are here to make me feel like I never left. You know what I mean? Like, it was that same comfortable, like I'm back in the saddle, feeling. And yeah, I was just really synchronized, insane, just not even, you couldn't think this up, you couldn't dream this up, you don't plan this, it just happens. And that's how life is, yeah.
Favorite feature of the Bronco?
Ooh.
And if you could say
Yeah, sure. I mean, for me, my favorite feature is personally my Bronco gets me to any adventure I want. It is the key to the outdoors and nature. I have literally been able to do the things that I love most because of the Bronco. I throw my surfboards on top, my paramotor out the back, you name it, awning on the side to relax and enjoy a beautiful day out. So for me, it's the accessories that allow me to do what I love. That's my favorite feature, I'd say. And just its capacity and capability in the outdoors. You'd be surprised. I rock the Bronco Sport. It climbs just like the big boy. I'm not even kidding. Like it's legit. So yeah. And other than that, I mean, the fact that I get to represent this company is like, it's my favorite feature. I'd say it's not even a feature, but it's like I'm a feature in their company.
I got to hang out with the Ford performance team for they introduced the Mustang and the Rolex 24 for the first time in 2024. So I got to rip around the 65 around Daytona Speedway.
No way.
Yeah.
That must have been insane, huh?
So how has it been? Oh, it was wild to do that restoration, like that. You know what that car means to me, and then have that experience was like one of those things, like you said, a dream. How has been your experience with the Ford? Ford.
Yeah, so the Ford team actually, all in all, have been very. I don't even like. We are called Team Bronco, but it is literally a family. That's the culture that they've cultivated and what they've made is that. Although I did not know the 34 other members, I just had our Bronco Team Summit. We all got together in Colorado for the Super Celebration. Basically, it's a gathering that brings all kinds of Broncos, the classics to the new ones, and I felt like I had known everyone there for years, just because although we walk different walks of life and have different passions or partake in different sports, we share a common love for what we do, and being surrounded by people who do the same thing and are willing to learn and be out there. Ford itself has just truly opened up the doors for me to do and to go wherever I'd like to. Like I felt limitless with them. I feel like I can reach and reach and reach, and there are no walls. Like there are no boundaries when it comes to being in my Bronco.
All right, enjoy yourself. That's
Yeah,
what I'm saying.
but point being, my experience with Ford has just been unmatched. Like truthfully unmatched. I'm grateful to say I've had many sponsors over the years, but this one just feels like, arm over the shoulder, come in, let's go have some fun together kind of relationship. It genuinely is amplifying my life. It's genuinely allowing me to pursue everything I've ever wanted to. So yeah, it's phenomenal.
Okay, we'll end up with open it up to you if you want to
Yeah,
say anything.
absolutely,
you
yeah,
want
for
that
sure.
I didn't ask.
Yeah, simple. I'd say it's just simple is better. Less is more. I want to say that let's remember all the things that we have. Let's be, genuinely understand that every single thing that you have or have experienced or are a part of is 100% a blessing. I believe that. And all those shortcomings, all those lows are for you to climb up and are for you to shine through. That is your moment to make it past that. I've gone through a lot of hurdles in life, and mentally, physically, in different ways, but what I have understood with it is if you have that patience, if you have that time for yourself, that genuine focus towards what is right for you, remember that part. I feel like that is for me. Because if I had ever asked my family or those closest to me, hey, should I go fly a paramotor? You know the answer. Hey, should I go hang off of a cliff on a highline? You know the answer. Don't do what people say just because they say it or just because they love you and this and that. Really take the time, consider it, genuinely, because it's because they care. And I've realized in retrospect, it's only because they cared for my well-being. But now, this is when you take your own life. By the horns, by the steering wheel, you drive your own car, you create your own experience. So genuinely, I want to say it's the most important thing is to just do what you want to do. And don't just do it. Live it, be part of it, learn every aspect you can, because that's how you're going to do it safely. It's not just, I'm going to jump off the cliff right now. I'm going to see how deep the water is, and I'm going to, there's steps to making all your dreams happen, but it's so possible. I feel like I'm a living, walking testament to it, because I went from never having a car to now having a car sponsorship to never doing this to doing that. Like there's like an insane countless list of like how my life has somehow collaterally fallen into place. And yeah, you can say it was destiny or this or no, dude, I'm sorry. It was literally taking the hit and getting back up. It was a lot of different hurdles and a lot of different stuff that I genuinely try to share with anyone who's my family, my friend, or even a follower. Like, I try to show the process of like, there is a serious understanding of and a serious moment that you need to have with yourself and for what you're doing to say like, I am all in. I'm all in. This is your focus. For me, it's like that your presence is the most important thing. So when you are doing something or trying something new or aspiring for something, you need to be all in. You need to be present. You can't be thinking about, that's where the dangers lie in everything that we do. Even walking across the street, if you're not paying attention, obvious, right? We don't even have to talk about it. So remember, presence is key. Belief in yourself is one of the most important things ever. Because had I not believed in myself, in wanting to do the things that I wanted to do for myself, it would have never been possible. And even as I move forward, I hope to remember that for the rest of my life. Always be willing to learn something, I'd say. Keep an open mind always. And yeah, just share these moments with your family and friends. It's like, quality time, there's nothing like that, truthfully. And as I've traveled the world or been on these different experiences, now I seldom see my family, and I get to experience what I took for granted for almost, and I guess that's just a reminder of like that highs and lows experience, right? You get to really see what the highs were, and you really get to see what the lows were. So just remember that, stay close to the people who love you and believe in yourself, because time in, time out, that's just what's going to get you in and out of those hard moments. It's the people who love you, and first and foremost, it's yourself. So thank you for watching. It's been honestly, it's a pleasure. I don't really get in front of the camera too much, but things will be changing over the next few years. As of now, I'm on Instagram as Walk with Rodolfo. That's my handle. Check it out. I got plenty of adventures constantly. I hope to always keep people on their toes. I want to reiterate, I don't do the things I do for people. I do it for myself. It's genuinely out of the love and creation of that perseverance and the challenge. It's just a challenge. You'll see if you check out the page, you'll see it's filled with nothing but. This guy, he went through it. It was never easy. At one point, hopefully it will be, right? I couldn't take one step on a slackline when I first saw it, but now, of course, things have changed. So just remember that there's levels to it. There's a lot of growth. That flower grows or that plant grows if you give it water, if you put it in the sun, if you take care of it. Same thing as your life, take care of it, stay healthy, breathe fresh air, drink water. You know how it goes. It's the same thing. I sound like a freaking.
You're good. I love it. All right, so we're gonna wrap it up. Rodolfo, your tagline with Ripple Forward Ambassador.
This experience specifically here at Aviator genuinely allowed me to realize, like what I mentioned, that moment of like nearly giving up and feeling that bottom pit of fear. This experience 100% catapulted me into everything I'm doing today, because it helped me genuinely understand that same notion of what I mentioned. Without the community, without the knowledge, without the friendship, you would not be able to move forward. And I think I genuinely took that, everything I learned here with the class, and copy and paste. And now it's like I'm living the best life. I genuinely could not ask for anything else more. Every day, I'm amazed. So, and it's partially, I think, one of the biggest things, it's because of the mindset and because of the experiences I've shared with people like you guys, man. It's one of a kind. Hi, I'm Rodolfo Rojas, professional athlete and Ford Bronco ambassador. You're watching Life After Aviator. This is a unique experience to talk about what I have learned here and where my life has led to after. Please like, comment, subscribe. My Instagram is Walk with Rodolfo. don't forget to check out Aviator PPG out in Lake Wales, Florida.